cannot, we must not, we will not leave our citizens behind.
We're going to be focused on jobs, economic vitality, and bringing Philadelphia back from this economic crisis.
We're working every day to make this a safer city.
Here in Philadelphia, we know how to get things done.
We are sick and tired of being sick and tired about blight and deteriorated properties in this city. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We're all together. Thank you for being here. It's quite a historic day here in the city of Philadelphia. Continue to make progress. I'm joined, as you can see, obviously by Council President Clark, Councilwoman for the 7th District, Councilwoman Maria Quinones-Sanchez, Nick Scafidi, Dave Thomas, and Commissioner Joan Decker. You will hear from all of them. I am kind of functioning as the MC, which I find increasingly that is my role here in these last few weeks. More emceeing to be done. Nick Scafidi is the Interim Executive Director, Philadelphia Land Bank. Dave Thomas, Interim Executive Director, Philadelphia Housing Development Corporation. And, of course, you already know Commissioner Decker. Today marks an important milestone for the city of Philadelphia and our ongoing efforts to take vacant properties and restore them to productive use. We all know that vacant land and abandoned properties have a tremendously negative influence on our many, many neighborhoods and the neighbors around them, and on our whole city. Finding productive uses for these previously, in many instances, unused properties can be transformative for communities across Philadelphia, reducing blight, attracting new residents and businesses, and strengthening, of course, the city's finances. As a city council person and as I was running for mayor, I called for the creation of a land bank to help bring those vacant parcels together for productive strategic reuse. In 2008, I traveled with Councilwoman Quinones-Sanchez to Harvard University to attend a conference on land banks. In the fall of 2010, the Vacant Property Working Group was established, chaired by Finance Director Rob DeBoe and Managing Director Rich Negrin, to develop a strategy to deal with vacant land. Many city agencies came together in this working group, including the RDA, Public Property, OHCD, the Law Department, Commerce Department, L&I, the Planning Commission, and the Mayor's Office. Over the years, our administration published the disposition process, posted all publicly owned property online, created a single point of contact to attract vacant land, and worked with the private market to competitively sell land. We also created a common application for the purchase of vacant property that can be submitted online, eliminating paper applications that had to be provided by the particular agency that owned the property. And just last January, after years of hard work and partnered effort with Council President Clark, Councilwoman Quinones-Sanchez, land bank advocates, and many, many others, I had the opportunity to sign legislation that made Philadelphia the largest city in the United States of America with a land bank. The Council President and the Councilwoman and all the Council members deserve a big round of applause for getting that work done. Please recognize them. But as often is the case in government, there's always a next step, and that brings us to today. Today, the Philadelphia Land Bank takes ownership of its first set of properties. Earlier today, we submitted the deeds of 150 properties to the Records Department, transferring ownership from the Philadelphia Housing Development Corporation to the Philadelphia Land Bank inventory. Let me just say that this process was completed completely electronically. That's right, we went paperless for this one. This is a 21st century process for a modern approach to the disposition of vacant land. And you can see the steps displayed on the screen to my left, your right. Tomorrow, we will submit another 75 deeds, bringing the total to 225 properties just this week. By the end of the year, the Philadelphia Land Bank will have received approximately 650 properties from PHDC. I want to take a minute just again to thank all the city departments and agencies and staff members who worked on this project. Philadelphia Land Bank, the Law Department, the Revenue Department, the Streets Department, the Records Department, PHDC, and, of course, Philadelphia City Council. This exciting announcement comes just a week after City Council introduced resolutions that would convey 833 city-owned properties to the Philadelphia Land Bank in January via the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority. Again, I want to thank City Council for their continued support of the Philadelphia Land Bank. This is very important work and cannot be done without the Council's active engagement and involvement. These land transfers bring us closer to the goals outlined in the Land Bank's strategic plan to put 6,500 properties into the Land Bank's inventory over 4 years. While I'm thrilled about today's announcement, I know, of course, that there is still more work to do. This process won't be completed until these vacant properties become something new, like an affordable home or a job-creating business, transforming blight into opportunity and revitalization. Today's Land Bank progress will be a big success for the future of the City of Philadelphia. As I mentioned, we have a number of speakers. We're going to start with City Council President, Councilman for the 5th Council District, Council President Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much. I would like to thank the mayor and his team, the aforementioned individuals and agencies for the great work representing those various alphabet organizations, which is what we've always called them. The simple reality is streamlining this process will go a long way in achieving our goal. There has been a significant challenge, but I want to commend the advocates for their long, hard work. Those that actually don't get the credit, but actually do most of the work. We get to stand up here and do our thing, but the reality is without the support of the advocate community and their continued due diligence, this wouldn't have happened. I'd like to thank my colleague, Councilwoman Maria Quiñones Sanchez. And I'm not going to talk about some of those meetings we had in my office, right? Because with everything significant, there's always disagreement. You know, I mean, this is the simple realities. When you do things big, there from time to time is a difference in opinion. But the reality is that the councilwoman works long and hard. Getting the authorization from Harrisburg, and we don't talk about that, the simple reality is, and I want to give John Taylor his props for moving this process to enable us to move to a land bank. It was very significant, and the councilwoman, you know, I'm sure that from time to time even visited his house to make sure that he got that done. So I really want to commend her, and I want to thank her so much for her long, hard work on this process, the work behind the doors that you just don't see. She really is a true champion. And too often, when we talk about vacant land, people think, well, that's in the community. They want to build affordable housing, or they want to, you know, and I represent probably the most diverse district in the country, right? Let alone the state, because I represent all of the tall buildings, Rittenhouse Square, and I represent areas in North Philadelphia that have challenges. So when you talk to some of the people, they say, well, what does the land bank have to do with me? You know, I live in a condo over on 17th Street. But the simple reality is, with literally almost 40,000 vacant properties in the city of Philadelphia, probably the overwhelming majority of which are not reducing a dime in revenue to the city, in some cases are actually costing us money, because those properties that are owned by the agencies, we have to send people out and clean them, right? So how about we get those properties back on the tax roll, and they're actually producing revenue, right? Taxes are coming in after that 10-year tax abatement comes up, ooh, it shoots up like that, right? And we've actually calculated that if somehow we can do that, we can bring more than $100 million back on the tax rolls. And to the person that has the condominium or lives in another neighborhood that is, you know, has some level of wealth, guess what? I can reduce your taxes. So when you explain it to them like that, you expand the base on the entire city of Philadelphia, I'm able to make sure that everybody gets to take advantage of the new revenue coming to the city. So this is a very significant, far beyond what people think. Again, I want to thank the mayor, his team. I want to thank my colleague, Councilwoman Maria Quiñones Sanchez, and all of the advocates for the wonderful work that you all have been doing. Again, thank you. Look forward to the next the next session of council. We're going to have another stack for you guys to move. Ms. Decker, get ready. All right? All right. We're ready. Thank you. Thank you all very much. And thank you again for your support.
couple of folks I didn't see before. Council President, thank you for your comments, and more importantly, even, of course, for the work. A couple of folks that I didn't see earlier, Alan Greenberger, our Deputy Mayor for Economic Development. Alan, thank you for your work and role in this, and of course, the one, the only, the incomparable Tumar Alexander, working very, very hard. I don't see Bob Merkin because I think he's working on something for me, but he was active in this process as well. The councilwoman is, she is the quintessential advocate. She's had any number of titles. We were all together last night celebrating the incredible work and service of Councilwoman Marion Tasco, Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez. We were kind of joking on stage, although I don't think you were a part of that. Councilwoman was a staff person for the councilwoman. Council President Clark was a staff person for then Councilman and then City Council President John Street. Councilman Greenlee was a staff person for Councilman Cohen. I was a staff person for Councilman Ortiz. If you're starting to get a sense of how this works, you might have a little insight into how folks get elected to City Council. The point is that the councilwoman, with all now the title and all of that, is an advocate, and her level of advocacy works this way. Councilwoman, how you doing? I'm doing fine. I'm working on a land bank. Councilwoman, what time is it? It's time to have a land bank. Councilwoman, where are you going? I'm going to a meeting about the land bank. Councilwoman, what are you doing now? I'm talking to you, Mayor, about the land bank. So it is that kind of focus that gets things done. And she's very, very serious about her work. Pleasure to work with, but she is serious about getting some work done. Ladies and gentlemen, Councilwoman Maria Quinona Sanchez.
Thank you. I want to add my voice to the choir from the mayor and Council President Clark for all of the staff members who've been part of this, asking folks to open up their wheelhouse and really collaborate and put themselves in a situation where the accountability is a shared accountability is not easy in government. So the word that the mayor uses is advocate. Some of you may say I'm a little bit of a disruptor. For Council President, who, when you look at the number of properties and the redevelopment that's happening in the city, it is no accident the kind of very proactive and deliberate development that happens that is happening in the 5th Councilmatic District. And so when we fought, it was because he was wiser in many cases about, as he says, I've been doing this for a minute. And he has, and I've learned tremendously in why he wants to be as deliberate in the work that we do and how you operationalize that. And whether it's his choice neighborhoods, which is a plan that we can all sign onto and say, how do we develop that? Or his charter reform around how do you really combine and create a common vision for economic development in the entire city. He's been the champion of that. So he's been doing this for a minute more than me. That's because he's older. No. So I really do want to thank all of the council members who have worked with us. And, one of the things that I've learned in the 7-year process is you really do have to listen to people. There's a perspective that they bring that make things better. And sometimes we don't legislate the perfect. The advocates have been always tremendous in this, having done my first job before I worked with Marion, working at a Hunting Park CDC. Community development is what I breathe. The opportunities that the land bank, because it's just a tool in the toolbox of many things that have to happen as a city. And when I look at the 7th Councilmatic District, and we have 4,100 vacant lots, 1,100 vacant structures, the potential, the opportunity buckets that exist there, to Council President's point, it is about bringing additional revenue. Because those neighborhoods and the blight that is caused by the vacancy and our lack of action costs everyone. Whether it's the studies that the advocates have shown, where you devalue properties next door to vacant properties by $7,000, all of that is unrealized revenue for the city of Philadelphia. So this is one more tool in this toolbox that we have to create, and the political will that has been generated through the partnerships and the advocacy of the advocates who for a long time have understood, who do the work on the street, as Council President said, you really do the work in the street, who really understand that we want to facilitate to the private market, to the public market, the redevelopment of the city of Philadelphia. So this is one of many toolboxes that we create. I believe that this city will be great when districts like the 7th and the 5th and those challenging parts are great. And we owe it to the rest of the city for that development to happen. We're proud of our downtown. I'm very proud of the work that we've done downtown. We've built downtown so that we can build better neighborhoods for the rest of the city. So thank you to all of you. I will continue my advocacy and my disruption and ensure that in the next administration, as we do the acquisition part of this, and more importantly, the assemblage that we need to do these massive redevelopment opportunities that exist, I look forward to the continued partnership and for folks to continue to hold us accountable to ensure that this political will is here through the next administration to get the work done. Many of the practitioners, I know Deborah McAuliffe is leaving, but many of the practitioners in these departments will be here. They will continue this work. They understand the value of this work to the work that they do every single day. So thank you, all of you, for the opportunity to work with you.
Councilwoman, thank you very much. And, I was so surprised when you said that you were going to continue your advocacy and disruptive activities. I was really stunned to hear that. But I get a new surprise every day. Seriously, Nick Scafidi.
Thank you, Mayor. Today is a big day for the city and for the land bank. All of the work that has been taking place behind the scenes is now paying off. Over the last 18 months, we've gathered deed information for thousands of properties. We have reviewed each of those deeds, and we fixed problems with their title and with their deed descriptions. We've also cleared liens. And now we're able to transfer those properties with insurable titles and give new owners the confidence to move forward. Our next steps are to identify potential owners for these and the other properties that will be coming into the land bank inventory and to actively market those properties. We expect that the first sales of these properties can take place in the first half of next year. Preparing these deeds for transfer was a big undertaking, and as the mayor did, I want to reiterate the work that's been done by the various staffs. Of course, our land bank group, the records department, PHDC, the law department, and the revenue and the streets departments. Each of these agencies has provided their assistance and their skills, and they've moved this project from a concept to a reality. The land bank is off to a running start, and we're building momentum. So today we want to thank the mayor, Council President Clark, Councilwoman Sanchez for their leadership. And we're looking forward to moving more properties into, and more importantly, out of, the land bank in 2016. Thank you.
Dave Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the past 50 years, PHDC has been dedicated to improving Philadelphia's neighborhoods, and we're pleased to be able to support the land bank by transferring the vacant properties that we have in our inventory. I want to say that this was not done easily. This was very difficult for the staff, and I want to acknowledge the staff and the hard work that they've put into this process and the dedication that they've shown throughout the whole time. It was not an easy process, but we're here today to celebrate their hard work and their, if you will, involvement in advancing the city's and the land bank's goals moving forward in the next phase of vacant property transformation. Thank you.
And we're going to wrap up with Commissioner Joan Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it's really quite a pleasure to be here today, and yes, Councilwoman and everyone here, this is a very valuable project, and we do recognize its importance. The Records Department is really pleased and very delighted to be part of this valuable project. It will reactivate many of the vacant properties in the city, as has been mentioned several times. And I also would like to thank many of you in the audience who are on staff who have helped us. This really was an undertaking, quite a large undertaking, and I appreciate all of your work. We are very impressed with the high quality of work we've received from all of your team members. This enabled us to move the process of recording these deeds through very quickly. And given the volume that's coming through, we are really delighted that this makes the process that much easier. We are looking forward to receiving additional batches of documents. Thank you. And we are ready, Council President. And also, we are looking forward mostly to the first deed that we're able to record that transfers the property from the land bank into private ownership. So thank you, everyone who helped us with this important project.
Commissioner, I won't be here at that time, but I'm hopeful that whenever that takes place, whoever that lucky first person is, they should get that level of recognition. Maybe there'll be some event or ceremony for them kicking off this incredible process. It'll be almost like, what's that thing when the folks show up at your house? Was it Publishers Clearinghouse? Yeah, just, big celebration, big check, have a parade for them. With that, I don't know if there are any members of the press who have any questions about today. Oh, okay. Wow. A lot of interest here. Yes. Nick?
The land bank is not yet a property owner, so all the inquiries from developers have been addressed to the land holding agencies, PHDC, PRA, and the city. Our intent now is to reach out to those developers. Now that we own property and we know other properties are coming into our inventory, we're going to be mapping those properties against our strategic plan and the 4 or so principal goals within that plan, and then to look for opportunities both with CDCs, private developers, gardens, side yards, whatever is available from the developing community. So our next step, once we start acquiring these properties, is to look actively for potential purchasers, particularly the developing community.
John, I would only add, I obviously can't speak for the members, but I'll go out on a limb. We all get significant inquiries from a bunch of folks for properties that are often in the city inventory. So one, I think it's a little beyond anecdotal that there is a fairly significant amount of interest out there. The advantage to the land bank, and certainly again the Council President and Councilwoman, I think are more than well versed to speak to this. For some developments, the assemblage of a large number of parcels that may in fact be near each other, that previously had multiple owners on the same block or in the same tract, you probably could not find something more dissuasive to a potential developer than having to deal with that, maze that you had to go through. In this situation, and part of the whole point here is that there's one place, one point of contact, and one agency to deal with, and with records actively engaged and involved, with clear title and an ability to ensure that property. It is almost like a private transfer between two, unrelated individuals trying to move that process along, at least in a government world. Our process might still be a little longer than a private transaction, but there's no way in the world that we can't be better at this process by having a land bank as compared to the challenges that people face in trying to get properties from the city of Philadelphia right now.
And what kind of uses do you anticipate? I mean, there's talk about affordable housing,
You guys will- yeah.
about side yards and so on, but
Yeah.
are we mostly talking about, private development?
We're talking about, we have a robust public-private partnerships, and what was beautiful about this historic coalition is that you have members of the real estate community, you had our CDC community, you had a bunch of folks at the table. But just to give you an example, and the reason why the strategic plan was such an important component is because we wanted to talk about what those opportunity buckets are. So for an example, in the 7th Councilmatic District, where we have what we've identified to be 4,600 properties suitable or parcels for affordable housing, 1,700 of them potentially for market rate and mixed housing, 392 of them suitable for economic development in the 12 commercial corridors that I have in my district, and about 3,200 for open space. We're going to change the conversation for people talking about what they don't want in their neighborhoods to people being able to really articulate, as we did with the 4 major goals in the strategic plan, about what folks want. So there's going to be more predictability for the community, because a lot of this was designed with the input of our community development organizations and that open process, but there's also going to be more predictability for our private developers around what kind of parcels they want to acquire, because there's already an articulated purpose for it.
And certainly, again, when you look at whether it's the 7th and the great diversity of the 5th council district, I mean, look, we would have wanted to have had a land bank a long time ago, but, the timing is what the timing is. But when you look at what is going on from a real estate standpoint in the city of Philadelphia right now, this is possibly not overheated. It is just a very hot real estate market in the city right now, all across the city of Philadelphia. The level of development taking place in Philly right now is unprecedented in recent times. And so having this process, moving these properties, and demonstrating finally, I think, to the development community that you really could get a property from the city in your lifetime, that there is an interest in building and private investment in the city. You see the development projects that are going on right now, and more still to come. And now with this tool coming online and the access to these properties, like I said, we would have liked to have had this about a decade ago, but every now and then the cycle catches up, and we're right in the place where we should be. Claudia?
Question for Council President. You said that there's going to be another set of rollouts. What's the timeline for council, and do you expect the other councilmatic districts to transfer properties right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually in the process currently of putting in probably RFPs for the next phase. I think it's going to be 4 phases of workforce housing. We had a press conference in the summer. We were going to do a workforce housing program, and we found a significant level of vacant property owned by the government, but there were parcels within those properties that had been vacant for literally 10, 20 years. You can't find the individual who owned the property. There was no heir. The land bank gives us an opportunity to actually go out, put that property on, without exposing it to the private sector on sheriff's sale, taking that property, put it in public inventory, and now having a developable parcel. So you're going to see probably in 2 weeks, I'm being told by Herb Wetzel, around 5 RFPs for development to do workforce housing. Moving ahead, actually as a part of the lien sale process, which is another aspect of government, necessarily as glowing as this. But the reality is that in that process, we realized that there were actually properties that were extremely tax delinquent that we were looking at possibly putting up on a lien sale. We realized they were in the middle of publicly owned properties. He said, well, wow, if we can put this property in the public inventory using the land bank, we now have a developable parcel. So as opposed to somebody simply buying a lien and sitting on it, try to squeeze the property owner that they may not be able to find, we can now put that back on the tax rolls in a meaningful way. So you're going to see something relatively soon.
Well, speaking of tax and sale, Mayor, there's been some concern from the CDCs about
I didn't mean to bring that up, sir.
Appreciate that. I'm sorry, I didn't.
the upcoming tax lien sale.
Yeah.
There's some concerns from the CDC saying that, this won't work well with the land bank, and that it takes away from.
Yeah, I think, again, we're going to try to be as smart and sensitive as the council president laid out that scenario, which is a real live scenario where we could, the potential certainly exists where, because that was moving on that track and you have this other activity going on, we could potentially do something that might interfere with the larger overall goal. And I think we'll do our best to be a lot smarter about that. And where that circumstance exists, I believe the smarter move is leave that for the moment, let that property be absorbed by the land bank for development purposes, and there are any number of other properties that are just kind of standalone, not in that same circumstance or situation. Let's not step on our own great effort. So we have to sort, I mean, that's literally a property-by-property examination. So we're just going to try to be a lot smarter about it.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
President, I didn't hear, I don't know if you answered this part, but the other council members, are they going to be transferring properties as well?
Yes.
Okay, all 10 districts?
Well, I don't want to speak for other council members, but I know that there's an interest by council members that have significant amount of developable parcels. But like the 10th district as an example, there's not a lot of vacant land in the 10th district, so I'm not sure of the opportunity. But I got a bunch, right? Councilwoman has a whole lot, Councilwoman Blackwell, Councilman Johnson, the list goes on, but depending on the district. But I think at some point in time, the 10th district will actually be able to use the land bank to acquire property for development, be it commercial or residential. So I anticipate full participation across the board.
Okay, so normally unless you tell me otherwise, we usually just take questions primarily from members of the press. But, you know, it's Wednesday, it's a really great day, and ma'am, are you a member of the press corps? But you've got something on your mind, so.
Well, I have a long-standing concern with the amount of properties in the city that are owned by nonprofits and the fact that that reduces the tax base. So I'm wondering if the land bank is, number one, going to list prices for along with the properties, so it's clear how much they're asking.
List properties for, I didn't hear the word.
How much the sales price will be when an individual goes on the site, will they see the property with the price? But also, I'm wondering if a priority will be given to individuals and developers who are not nonprofit, but who will in the future be paying full property taxes.
Well, I can absolutely answer the first question because Nick shook his head. So price will be on price will be on the site. I think you'll be able to, you know, it's kind of like Priceline. You'll be able to see what the asking price is. I'm going to defer to the team on your second question. You're asking more about who gets priority?
Well, I'm thinking about you were talking about potentially $100 million being added to the revenues of the city. But when nonprofits or nonprofit development entities buy properties, there's a reduction, considerable reduction in the taxes that they pay. So my question is, will you be giving priority to the private market? And that will enhance the tax base in the future.
Yeah. It all depends, and the money might actually be way beyond $100 million. We're talking about just this simple, the land itself, the market value for the land, post 10-year tax abatement. The reality is that if there's a commercial development on a particular parcel of land that goes through the land bank, it will be taxed in a commercial process. If it's residential, it will be a residential process. So I can't give you the specifics on each parcel. I anticipate, as an example, and I can speak about my district, I'm probably not supposed to be talking about that at this point, but there is I won't tell the area because I don't want people calling me yet. There's a area in the council district that I represent where we have started the process of a 6-square block area that could probably support market rate housing. But the thought is, because we want to make sure that there's affordability continues to be in the city of Philadelphia and in our district, there's actually going to be a mixed income strategy as it relates to that property. So some of those properties will be sold at market rate, and in that area, those particular vacant lots are selling for like $75,000. And as a part of the workforce housing initiative that we put in place, working with the mayor and the council, those properties will be phenomenal if the person agrees to build a house for individuals below 120% median income. So there's going to be a mixture, and that's what Councilwoman was talking about pursuant to the plan that we developed throughout this city, we will be able to apply this method and this process to enable us to enhance that possibility of those plans coming to some conclusion.
And just, I don't know if your question was going to this part, but just so we're clear, when a nonprofit gets a piece of property and develops it, if they develop it for profit-making commercial use, then they have to pay taxes on that particular parcel, even the regular tax rate, even though they are a nonprofit organization. And the Office of Property Assessment, as well as Finance and Revenue, fully examine, and right now we're actually in a process where OPA is evaluating the commercial uses and activity of nonprofit organizations that have commercial development, for-profit making commercial development as a part of their inventory. You have to pay taxes on the commercial aspect, notwithstanding your nonprofit status. Yes.
Yeah, I'm wondering about, obviously, you're talking about 6,500 properties over the next 4 years, prioritizing which properties those are going to be, just in terms of like the candidates for the land bank. What are the most, which ones are the most attractive? What are those, properties, attractive as you guys are looking at the landscape of what you've got and trying to figure out what those things are?
You mean in terms of what comes into inventory? Right. So I think for today's announcement, I'll probably defer to Nick on that, and then the council members are actively engaged in that process for their districts, which is how they're coming in the first place. So I'll leave to them to explain that.
If you look at the strategic plan that's online, every council person working along with CDCs and others has articulated what their opportunity buckets are. So in every different neighborhood, as the council president has worked through our choice neighborhoods, council districts are articulating what they want. So, the strategic plan has 4 overarching, we have a commitment to affordability, accessibility, to green space. I mean, we were very deliberate in that process, and that will manifest itself differently in every neighborhood based on needs. But what was clear to us, and it's clear to us, this tension around development and displacement, that's why the plan is important. Every year, council will approve a program statement. People will be able to see it. I think this is going to add to the transparency of who pays, what gets paid, what gets built, and what gets prioritized. We don't have an endless pot of housing money, as Deborah will tell you. And so we do want to be as deliberate as possible about the opportunity buckets and what we do. So there's low-hanging fruit, and then there's obviously longer-term pieces that, as Council President alluded to, all of us in council have to plan out these zones, and many times we end up being the marketers individually to developers. I don't know how many developers I've put in my car to show them, hey, I need a supermarket in Frankfurt, hello. So we could be more deliberate on that.
Last question. Why don't we do unrelated around the corner? Yes, sir. Okay. We have really gone way beyond our normal. It's fine. Well, why don't you give me everything you got, because I'm getting ready to roll. All good questions. Nick?
Taking the last question first, about 2 or so years ago, we did attach prices to every property in public ownership. That's available for you today. And we're in the process right now of updating those values. And within the next month or 2, you'll see fresher values, more reflective of today's market environments. The side yard program is going to continue. I don't think we give preference to any particular development. I think we evaluate the development in the context of the strategic plan, of council's needs, of the city's needs. There's a city comprehensive plan, there are district plans. So if there are competitive proposals for particular sets of properties or parcels of properties, they'll be evaluated on an individual basis.
All righty. So, a little bit of history today, and marching on into a bright future of development and opportunity, revitalization, jobs, and at the end of the day, a little extra revenue for the city of Philadelphia to provide high-quality services. Congratulations. Thanks a lot.